Hi there folks, and welcome back to Getting Started with Laravel 4. In the previous video we worked with blade layouts. In this lesson we'll create a table using migrations. Now migrations are a sort of version control for your database. You know, during the lifetime of your project you probably alter your database, maybe drop some tables, add indexes and stuff like that. Now wouldn't it be great if it was easy to have your databases sync throughout your different development environments and maybe staging and production as well? Well, with migrations you can. But before we do anything else, let's set up a database connection first. We'll go into the app folder and then into the config folder. Now as you saw in one of the earlier videos, we already have a local folder installed and that contains our local settings, including the database. So let's set that up. I'll just quickly move this pane around. On installation, Laravel already provided a couple of sample settings. Not all of the possible settings are in here because there's drivers for SQLite, MySQL, PGSQL, which is Postgres, SQL Server and even Redis. Now you can find all the drivers located in the database file inside of the config folder. Now if you're using a local folder like me, all you need to do is override the settings that are specific to your environment. So I can safely get rid of Postgres. And let's see, no further settings, so we're good here. Well, I already created a database which was called Laravel. My username is Joost van Veen and the password is Touch+. Now that's for me, you'll of course have to fill in your own credentials. Now I'll just start up a tool called SQL Pro so that we can have a look at that database. But you can use PHP-MyAdmin or any other GUI. And as you can see, we have an empty database here. Time to run our first migration. Okay, now migrations live inside of the app database folder. You see there's this migrations folder and this is where you'll store them. Now you can create migrations by hand if you want to, but it's much easier to use the command line for that. So I'll just start up the terminal and cd into my htdocs Laravel folder. Now the command to create a new migration is php artisan migrate make. And then all you need to do is provide a name for your migration. Now it's good practice to think of a description name, so something in the lines of create and then maybe users underscore table or something. And let's just make sure I spell that right. Okay, just hit enter and let Laravel do its work. Well, it responds with a message saying that it created a migration, and as you can see the name is preceded with some sort of a date timestamp. And that is because all these migrations have to be run in a specific order, of course. See, if I later want to add a column to the users table, then that can only be done after the user table has been created. So let's have a look at the migration we just created. And here you see Laravel has created a create users table class which extends migration. Now migration is the Laravel migration class. Now we have an up function and we have a down function. And this is what's great about migrations. In the up function we will now create a users table, and then in the down function we will do the exact opposite, which is drop that user table. Now later on in the process we could roll back this migration, which would mean that the users table would be dropped. Now this migration class already gives us a bit of boilerplate code, but I think we could improve on that. So let's just delete this. And then we'll run almost the exact same command, only we'll add a flag create and we'll make that equal to users. And this will hint to Laravel that we want to actually create a table called users. And if we do that, then Laravel will provide us with some more boilerplate code. When we have a look at the up method, then it's already been populated. You see, we used Laravel schema class and the create method in order to create a new table. We pass in the table name and a closure as the second argument, and into that closure we need to inject a table variable of the blueprint class. And now we can take that table class and use it to add fields. Well, Laravel's already set an auto increment field with a name of ID, and because this is an auto increment field, a primary key will also be added. Also, it takes the table class again and adds timestamps, which will create two columns, created at and updated at. So let's see if we can add any more fields. Okay, we'll probably need an email for a user as well, and let's make that a string. Now this translates to a varchar field of 255 characters. Now I would like the email to be unique, and luckily there's a function that does just that. Well, of course we'll need a password field as well, so let's just create that here. Now I would like to give that a constraint of 60 characters, and all I have to do is add that as the second parameter in my string method. Well, a password of course doesn't have to be unique. And you know, I think that's pretty much it. Okay, so we create a users table in the up method. Now in the down method, we need to do the exact opposite. So here, we'll take the schema class and drop the table called users. And that's all there is to it. Okay, let's run this. PHP artisan migrate. There you go. Now we get some positive feedback from Laravel. It's created a migration table and it's migrated this file here. Let's switch over to SQL Pro and find out. Okay, now here's the migrations table. Laravel uses this table to keep track of all the migrations that's already run. And as you can see, it's also created our users table, and there are all of the fields that we specified. We have an ID, which is an integer, a primary key and auto increment. We have an email, which is a varchar of 255. We have a password, that's constraint of 60, and we have created at and updated timestamps. Well, now what if we wanted to roll back this migration? Okay, very easy. We'll just do PHP artisan migrate again, only now we'll add rollback. And that's roll back our migration. So if all is well, if we refresh, then the users table should be gone, and indeed it is. Okay, so now what if we wanted to alter one of the fields in the users table? Okay, let's just create a migration for that again. PHP artisan migrate make. And then the name for our new migration will be add permission column to users table. Okay, let's open that up and edit it. Okay, again, in the up method, we'll use the schema builder and we'll just call its table method to alter our table. Well, again, the first parameter is our table name and the second parameter is a closure. Now, like before, we need to inject a table variable and let's just call that table instead of Yable. And now we can take that table class and then specify a field like we did before. So this time it's an integer and its name is permission. So now what do we want to do in the down method? Well, of course we want to drop this column that we just created. You know what? Let's just take all of this and copy and paste it here. Only now we'll call the table method drop column, and that will just take one parameter, which is the name of the column we want to drop. Okay, now remember we rolled back the last migration, so we have no table at all now. Let's see if we can run these two migrations in one. Just open up the terminal and do PHP artisan migrate. Okay, now I see I have a little typo here, so let's just go back and fix that. And that should, of course, be table. And the same goes for the down method. Cool, let's check it out in SQL Pro. Here we have our users table and our permission column. Okay, now there will be times, especially during development, when you just want to rerun all of your migrations. Just drop all the tables and then recreate them. Well, migrations got you covered as well. Here you do PHP artisan migrate refresh. And as you can see, that rolls back all of your migrations and then migrates them again. Now you can also include seeding, which populates your table with some sample data, but we'll have to cover that in a later video. Okay, in retrospect, with migrations, you have version control over your database. Now this can be very useful, for instance, when working in a team. After all, you do want your team members to work with the exact same database as you. Okay, so now that we've got a database and we've got a table, in the next video we'll use Laravel's powerful query builder to build us some queries. I'll see you there.